Welcome everyone to the Town of Wenham Board of Selectmen meeting of Tuesday, July 28th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. Welcome. The first item on the agenda is the public input from items that are not on the agenda from Wenhamites only. Are there any Wenhamites that want to comment on something that's not on the agenda? I see a hand. Go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to bring you up to date on what's going on with the reopening of schools and
Yes.
to let you know that tomorrow we'll be hearing some of the work that's being done this week from our teacher design team, get some more ideas about what that's going to be. The school committee will be participating in some focus groups and some roundtables next week, and a decision will be made on August the 5th. So at that point, everyone will know how we will at least start the year. Also wanted to let you know that the DESE has pushed the start date of school back by 10 days. So we'll be picking that date probably tomorrow, but it'll definitely be after Labor Day. And then also we heard today that the state has passed a short-term budget to get us through the end of October. So it looks like the Chapter 70 funding is going to be level funded for at least this part of the year, which is obviously more than we had anticipated. So that money will just be excess in the end of the fiscal year. So
That's great news. Thank you for sharing that, Michelle.
No.
Anyone else in the chat room that is a Wenhamite and wants to talk about something that's not on the agenda? Okay, hearing none. Thank you again, Michelle, for that very important announcement. We have open meeting law summer school. My goodness. Registration, I'm going to read this now. Hopefully you read it right. Registration is open for an open meeting law summer school. Michelle, you should be leading that. Are you going to be in charge of that one, Mary? Michelle? Oh, she's gone already. All right. Open meeting law summer school via Zoom Wednesday, August 19th at 7 p.m. She used to be known as the queen of the open meeting law. Anyway, this online offering will be presented by the Director of Administrative Services, Jackie Bresnahan, and Town Clerk Diane Bucco. Learn how to structure more productive meetings with topics including building agendas, meeting posted procedures, meeting minutes, open meeting law basics, which the selectmen are very attuned to, I can assure you, a Zoom meeting etiquette, and keeping meetings on task. Please contact Jackie Bresnahan with any questions at 978-468-5520, extension 4. Next on the agenda, we have letters of interest are requested from residents for openings on the following boards and committees. First, we have the Affordable Housing Trust. There are 4 openings for 2-year terms. The Audit Committee, there's 3 openings for 1-year terms. Some people have already submitted their letters of interest, so I'm not saying that no one is actually applying for that. The Conservation Committee has 2 openings for 3-year terms. Council on Aging Board have 2 openings for 3-year terms. Finance and Advisory Committee, 2 openings for 3-year terms. And by the way, the Finance Advisory Committee nomination is comprised of a tripart committee, which is the current chairman of the Finance Committee, Alex Began, chairman of the board, currently me, and usually the town moderator, but even though we had Tony Verheri as the town moderator for the meeting, he is not the town moderator post that meeting. So it's only 2 people who are the appointing committee. Hamilton Wenham Community Access and Media, 1 opening and with a 3-year term. Hamilton Wenham Cultural Council, there's 3 openings for 3-year terms. The Joint Rec Committee, 1 opening for a 3-year term. By the way, they do a great job. Not that the others don't, but they do. Hamilton Historic Commission, Historic District Commission, 4 openings for 3-year terms. My goodness. Iron Rail Commission, 2 openings for 3-year terms. Open Space and Rec Committee, 7 openings for 1-year terms. My goodness. Veterans Committee, 3 openings for 3-year terms. Wenham Connects Committee, 7 openings for 1-year terms. Wish Committee, which is a very important committee. One opening for a 3-year term in the Zoning Board of Appeals. One opening for a 3-year term, and 2 associate members openings for 1 year and for 1-year term and 1 for 2-year terms. We only have 1 associate member. It's very important to have more associate members, because if a particular member doesn't misses a meeting, that person cannot vote on subsequent issues. And so one of the associate members who has been in attendance for all of these meetings needs to step up to the plate and act as a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals for a particular vote. So it's important we have associates, and we particularly promote eventually the associates to full-time members when there's an opening. Residents are asked to provide a, quote, letter of interest. It doesn't have to be a letter, it can be an email, including a resume and or background documentation, illustrating their experience of the candidate and a brief explanation on the basis for their interest in the open position in one of the following ways. All we really need, I'm going to paraphrase it, all we really need is a letter. Look, I'm a resident of the town of Wenham. I've been in town for so many years. I have a lot of interest in a particular committee, and I'd like to be an applicant for that committee. And that call me with any questions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's really all we need. And that you can email it to N Roebuck, your email that is, NROEBUCK at wenhammass.gov, which is the town administrator's office. She's the executive assistant to our TA, our town administrator. Or you can mail it to the Board of Selectmen, care of the town administrator at 130, on your letter, 138 Main Street, Wenham, Mass. Please, we need these committees filled. It's very important. This is how the town does business. Many of these committees have a lot of responsibilities, and that we need them filled. So we'll begin filling them the next meeting. Okay. I don't have any particular comments, but I'm thinking I'm going to turn it over to you, Anthony. Are you there? There he is.
Yep, I'm here. Few issues, well, a few things, Jack. Met on July 23rd with the Hamilton Wenham Human Rights Coalition. Selectman Gary Cheeseman was with me. We discussed forming a human rights commission. We expressed our desire to do it jointly with Hamilton. Hamilton had some concerns and some questions because of different forms of government. So we're going to do a follow-up meeting. Joe, myself, and a couple of members of their committee to discuss some of those differences on August 5th, and hopefully iron out those and eventually present something to the selectmen to create a committee or commission. That's the first thing. I'd like to throw a plug in for this Thursday, July 30th, Board of Selectmen's meeting, which is a meeting that we will have Bayside Engineering present, and they will talk about the Main Street project update. We are at the 15% design phase, and which MassDOT has to had to review, and they have reviewed, and they made some what they passed on to us as minor changes to the Thursday. It's 5 o'clock. Thank you, Michelle. It's 5 o'clock Thursday. It's posted Board of Selectmen meeting. So they'll present the updated design and show us what the minor changes were, and then they'll go back to work. They'll bring the design phase up to the 25%, of which is public hearing is required at that point. So that's should be a good update. I don't think it'll be a long meeting. So if a resident's going to tune in, I'd recommend tuning in at 5 o'clock and to catch the whole thing. Last thing that I'd like to bring up is a kudos to our police department. Over the past several weeks, we've had some reports of Black Lives Matter signs that have been stolen. And over the
Really?
week, yeah. And
Really?
yep, we've had, yeah, few situations, few cases. But over the weekend, the call came in at 10:30 of a theft in progress. So our Deputy Chief DiNapoli happened to be on that day, and he was one of the responding police officers, and they did a great job. They actually found and got 2 suspects, which why don't I turn it over to Kevin, because he can do a better job explaining how they summons them into court. Kev?
Yeah, everything worked out good. There were 2 suspects on scene. We ended up talking to them further, doing some more investigating. Detective Lucantoni got involved, and we had 2 prior reports from the week before that we had taken, and we did have some information relative to suspect description and vehicle and whatnot. And so we had a feeling it might be the same people, and through the investigation, we were able to solve those 2 cases as well. And then Anthony had forwarded to me another name of woman from town who had mentioned a prior similar incident. So we're in the process of looking into that. It may end up being 4 total cases that was solved out of it. So it was a good effort between patrol and detectives and everyone involved. And the DAs have been walking us through some different ideas with the charges and whatnot. And I've been keeping Anthony in the loop since Saturday when everything transpired. So it worked out good.
Kevin, this is Jack Willow. What kind of a penalty would be imposed upon them if they were found guilty of stealing these signs? Are they going to be slapped in the wrist and say, don't do it again, or what?
Yeah, I mean, they take a lot of factors into play. The basic charges is just going to be a larceny. And so it's not going to be a huge penalty. It would be contingent upon if they had a long prior record and there are other similar charges, which don't appear to be the case in the circumstances. We can't release the names yet until the DA's office allows us to, relative to the formal charges being filed, and then we are going to do a media release on it. So we'll get more info out there.
It's good to know that they also were not Wenhamites.
That's what I was just going to ask.
Yeah, I can share that. They were out of towners, so it's great to know that our police department was really swift in responding and really did a great job in solving that and solving other cases too. So really, it was a great job by our team.
Thanks.
So Kevin, is this happening in other surrounding towns and not just Wenham?
We haven't seen a lot. We have what's called mass crime net, so it gives us an idea of all the area towns of different things that are going on. I've seen all different signs too, not just the BLM ones. There's been all sorts of similar ones. Nothing in our immediate surrounding towns that I've seen as a big problem, but I have seen some similar instances out there.
Thank you, Kevin. Hopefully it doesn't happen again.
Yeah. Thank you, Deputy Chief. Great work. And that's all I have.
Anthony, John Clemenzi here.
Sure.
Back to the road project. You didn't mention when there would be a public input meeting. Do you have that date in hand yet?
Not yet, John. It depends on how long it'll take them to come to the 25%. Obviously, I think because of COVID, things got a little slower. But what they will present on Thursday is the timeline for where we stand in the project, and hopefully they'll give us an idea at that point when they're expecting to get to the 25%. So more to come on that for Thursday from them.
Oh, okay. So they may have some input at that point or during that presentation.
Yeah, I would assume that they're shooting for a date.
Okay.
They have a goal. So yeah, I'm sure we'll find out more. We'll get at least an approximation.
I'm just trying to get it out as early as we can so that people start to schedule for it.
And it will be posted, the presentation and the last presentation on our website under the Main Street. If you go to the town administrator section, it's under the Main Street traffic project, and people can view the various presentations that happened before the selectmen there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anthony, I have a question for you. So in our packages, we have lengthy reports from Jackie Bresnahan, the building department, Director of Administrative Services, so on, Nikki. Are these available to the general public if they go on our website?
They're posted in the meeting packets, and I think Nikki, you are on. Do we put that on the under the TA report on our website?
Yes, they've been posted separately as a TA report. I do need to update your page with the most recent version, but yes.
Yes.
So, I mean, there's a lot of information here, Bill Tyak and so forth, and that, including the finance department. So people can access it. Once you post it, people can does anyone ever call for any questions on these? Anybody call you up and say, gee, I just read X, Y, Z in here and I have a couple of questions? No? Yes?
No, I don't. Nope.
How about your department heads? Like I see, Chief Kavanaugh, Chris Holak, Bill Tyak, so on and so forth. Do they get questions based upon the write-up, which is extensive?
Yeah, I think depends on what's going on. I think that the police department has gotten some requests or questions from citizens regarding the hot issue with the police reform.
Oh,
and-
yeah.
Yeah. Chief Kavanaugh's on. I'm not sure if he's gotten any, or Deputy Chief Baxter have gotten any questions that they get.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there appears to be some follow-up that department heads may get, which some of them are routine questions as well.
I expect a lot to be routine questions. There's a lot of information there for people to access and, okay. They go to the trouble of writing all this stuff up. I was just questioning whether or not anybody actually read it and asked questions about it. But, all right. I guess I have nothing else to report. I think we should move to Gary Cheeseman with the consent agenda.
I think on the consent agenda, is there minutes finalized for 7/7?
No, there's no minute.
No, so we're
Pass over that.
pass over that.
Okay, Gary, you got to pass.
Yep. Easy one.
All right, we're on the new business now. Oops, I just lost my thing here. Provisional call firefighters, that would be me. So where's the list? Why don't you take it over, Anthony?
I'll share that 1 second. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 provisional firefighter intern call firefighters that Chief Kavanaugh can explain what they're doing. Chief?
Well, as soon as they are voted in, we are going to have them take a firefighter physical. And they've already done a Corey check, which they have all passed. And once they get the physical and they pass that, they will then start our intern program a little more aggressively, just for the fact that March, we usually start the intern program, but we couldn't because of COVID. So we're gonna have to do a little double time with them to get them acclimated with our department and our equipment. And before they get to the academy in November, we want them to know, about their gear, their air packs, so they don't go into it cold. So we're gonna have to do a little double time with that because we have lost a lot of time with them. But we are excited about these 4 getting on board, and we hope they have an affirmative vote tonight.
Okay. So I move that the Board of Selectmen appoint, fill in the names for me, Chief.
They're right there on the screen. Andrew Mazza, Matthew Bean, Marissa Mead, and Allison
Louise.
Louise. Thank you, Chief.
As provisional intern call fighters effective July 28, 2020. I see that now.
I'll second your motion, Jack.
Yeah, thank you, Jackie Bresnan, for putting it up for me. All in favor?
Aye, John.
That's unanimous. Great.
It was actually,
Thank you very much.
it was actually
You're
me.
welcome.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, we
appreciate it.
appreciate your effort to get these folks involved.
Yeah. We're hoping to have another round shortly.
Great.
So the next one on my schedule is Cemetery Commission. I had a late letter of a handwritten letter from Dana Bagnell this afternoon expressing his letter of interest, quote unquote. It actually was a letter as a member of the Cemetery Commission. As most people know, he was the former chairman of the commission and resigned. But now they're down one, and I'm being requested by other members of the Cemetery Commission, because Gary Cheeseman can no longer be a member of the Cemetery Commission, although he did an outstanding job because he's now a selectman. Selectmen are not allowed to oversee departments where we have appointing authority. So Gary had to, on his election as a selectman, he no longer serve on that. So that I know it's last minute, but I'm told by the remaining members of the Cemetery Commission that they need one more member. And Dana used to be chairman, is willing to serve now until whenever. So I recommend that we appoint Dana Bagnell as a member of the Cemetery Commission effective today, July 28th to June 30, 2023.
Jack, I'll second your motion. Dana's a very competent guy.
Yep. Any questions?
I'll just add too that Dana has actually served two separate long terms on the Cemetery Commission back about the 2000s and then up to most recently. So I certainly endorse Dana to join the board.
Thank you, Dana. All in favor?
Gary, aye.
John, I.
Jack Wilhelm, aye. Congratulations, Dana. You're now a member again of the Cemetery Commission. Great. Let's roll it up. What's next?
Bill Wilson for the Cemetery Commission.
Oh.
Did we, Gary, did you act,
I'm looking at new business appointments. I don't see,
backup documentation in the packet was Bill Wilson's letter.
okay.
I think Bill is just a reappointment to another term.
So Gary, is your term, did you resign from your position that created the vacancy for Dana?
Yes, with
So-
the
Nikki, do you know when Gary's would run through?
It doesn't make any
June
difference. The day
30th,
he was-
2020.
It doesn't make any difference because the day he was elected selectman, he could no longer serve on the Cemetery Commission. That's
No,
the effective
I understand
resignation.
that. Nikki, what's the date on that one?
June 30th, 2021 for Dana Bagnell.
Okay, so the one that was for 2023 is Bill Wilson's?
That's correct. His will be a 3-year reappointment.
Right, and Dana Bagnell should have been through 2021.
That's
That
correct.
That fills the rest of Gary's, unless you want to do something separately, different.
no, that lines up well, I believe.
Yeah, he's doing a good job. So Anthony, I don't have anything with Bill Wilson in front of me for new appointments in the Cemetery Commission.
In your packet, it's on the second page of this section.
Not on the screen though. Okay.
No, I didn't put it on the screen.
Well,
Do you want it on the screen or?
yeah, I'd like it on the screen. It's like a teleprompter. That's how Trump gets away with it.
Yeah. So Bill went on our website and filled it out. Filled out the form, so it's Bill Wilson. He's looking for reappointment. The Cemetery Commission.
All right. Well, I moved that Bill Wilson does a fantastic job on the Cemetery Commission, on the Veterans Committee as well. And on behalf of the Veterans Committee, he does a great job and reaches across America. So he's all over the place. I recommend that we appoint him. Is it to a 3-year term?
Yes, through 2023. And then
2000?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, 2023. And then Catherine, they took the motion. Did they vote on that one? So then they have to just correct that motion.
Who's they?
You, the selectman, because you voted already on Dana Bagnell for that 2023. when in fact it was Bill Wilson that was looking for reappointment to 2023. So if you just want a motion to reverse the Dana Bagnell appointment, and then take up Bill Wilson for 2023, and then Dana Bagnell to complete the rest of Selectman Cheeseman's term, which expires in 2021.
Whatever, go ahead, Anthony, make the motions then. You do it.
Okay, so move that the Board of Selectmen vote to rescind the vote for Dana Bagnell for the Cemetery Commission through 2023.
Second the motion.
No, you make the motion, John. I can't make a motion.
Okay.
That was John's motion. Gary, you second that one?
I'll second.
Okay, now you vote on that.
Gary, I.
John, I.
Jack Wilhelm, aye.
Okay, so now you want to take up Gary Wilson's appointment. So I'll share the screen so you have that. Just fill in Gary Wilson with the
William.
blank line. So somebody can read that.
I'm surprised his name is not there. Why do we have to fill it in? Why isn't his name right there? And that,
Because if you decided not to, it's
Right.
a shoe in, so.
all right,
Talk to
I
me.
move that the Board of Selectmen appoint,
William Wilson.
right, William Wilson is a member of the Cemetery Commission effective July 28th through June 30th, 2023.
Second.
Comments? All in favor?
Gary, I.
John, I.
Jack Wilhelm, aye. Congratulations, Bill. You're doing a fantastic job for the town, by the way.
Now, motion again, the same thing, only go through June 30th, 2021, and include Dana Bagnell's name.
Okay,
I'm glad you're keeping track of this, Anthony.
right. Yeah, somebody has to do that. Move the Board of Selectmen appoint Dana Bagnell yet again as a member of the Cemetery Commission effective July 28th through what?
June 30th, 2021.
June
Oh.
30th, 2021.
Second.
John?
I.
Gary, I.
Jack Wilhelm, aye. It's unanimous. Congratulations, Dana, for volunteering for this. I think he was, his arm was twisted to it, and I'm glad that he's, we appreciate it. And by the way, who is the current chairman of the Cemetery Commission? Do they have one?
I believe they're awaiting these appointments, so they have all three to have a meeting and to choose their new
Yeah,
chairman.
okay. All righty. Okay. Next.
Next one is the Wish, Wenham issue of social services help, the Wish Committee. So I'll call that one up for you.
Bill?
And there's only one applicant there, and it's Tom Tanis. So just include Tom Tanis in the blank line. And there's your
Of the
motion.
earth, Tom Tanis. He's still alive and functioning. That's great. The Wish Committee does a fantastic job for the town. They're very quiet. It's a confidential committee. They're basically trying to help people in down and out who need some financial support on a very confidential basis. And so we're very, very lucky to have this committee. And particularly Tom, who's very interested in this. I move the Board of Selectmen appoint Thomas Tanis as a member of the Issues of Social Service Help, Wish, otherwise known as the Wish Committee, effective July 21st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. Do I hear a second?
I'll second your motion, Jack.
Any comments? All in favor, Gary?
Gary, I.
John?
John, I. Thank you so much, Tom Tanis, for continued service.
Ditto. Jack Wilhelm, aye. Congratulations, Tom, and thank you for volunteering to serve. What's next, Anthony?
The next is we have election officers, and I think Diane's on the phone, which Diane can just briefly go over, because this is a large list.
Oh, of candidates?
Yeah, of folks that she has. Diane? I'll unmute you, Diane. Or Jackie, can you unmute her? All right, so Diane, we call up the motion.
Diane, you need to unmute yourself. I can't override you.
I can't either, yeah. So here's the motion, and then I'm going to include the list of names. So this is an annual appointment process that the town clerk requests. This appointment will run from September 1st, 2020 through August 31st, 2021. The list of people that Diane has submitted for appointment is,
We have that on the screen.
yep, I'm getting it now. So here's the list, and it's,
My goodness gracious.
yeah, it's quite a long.
It's not on this list. I'll read them off. Judith Brisky, Joseph P. Kavanaugh, I don't know if he's, Julie Clay, Karen Damour, Juliana Dodge, Laurie Earhart, Dorothy Goody, if I'm pronouncing it right, Susan Herrick, Peter Hersey, we know Peter, we know Susan too, Diana Lang, Pat Lucy, Don Luxton, Joanne Mastranzi, Susan Malin, Leonardo Pereda, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. Pat Purdy,
Peretta?
well, okay. If I mispronounced it, I'm sorry. Patricia Pat Purdy, Stephanie Quinn, Susan Roca, Evelyn Simpson, Lauren Schwartz, Thomas Tanis, there's Tom again. Lily Ting, Teresa Von Statz, and William Wilson III. Is that, I have to roll it up more? Or is that the end of the list?
That's the end of the list that I
All
have.
right,
I'll second your motion, Jack.
thank you. Any comments?
Just
No,
thank
I'll-
you to all these people that are serving.
That's right. Thank you so much for saying that.
Yes. Okay, all in favor, John?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
Jack Wilhelm, aye, it's unanimous. They're all elected. Congratulations for volunteering, everybody. We appreciate that. And thank you for Diane for running these people up.
The last appointments are the Affordable Housing Trust, the Selectman's representative to the trust.
Right. So a little preamble here that according to the trust agreement for the Affordable Housing Trust, one member of the 7-member committee must be a sitting selectman. Heretofore, it was Catherine Harrison, and she's no longer a sitting selectman, so we need to appoint one of the 3 of us to be on the committee. And that John has twisted my arm several times. Can't wait to get on this committee. And so I move that the Board of Selectmen appoint John Clemency as their representative to the Affordable Housing Trust effective July 28th through June 30th, 2022.
Second.
Thank you, Jack. And I appreciate the consideration, and I do care about that position very much. I've thought about it since I first spoke to you, and I look forward to serving on that commission. And so thank you very much, Gary, for seconding the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Gary, yes.
John?
Yes.
Jack Wilhelm, yes. Congratulations, John. You were unanimously elected for the Affordable Housing Trust Committee as a selectman representative.
It was a tough decision, but
Well, there was competition for that, John. You know, I'm not going to tell you who it was, but someone else. That's all I can tell you. Okay, Anthony, roll it on.
all right. The next one is in my court, I think.
Yes.
All right. Now, Anthony, I have a question. Are there names that's supposed to be attached to this
No.
motion?
So, no, we went through this last time, unfortunately, with the passing of Arthur Burrett. So
Yes.
what happened this time is, if you recall back then, there was 2 candidates that the board collectively, both you and the Wenham Housing Authority interviewed.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that's right.
you selected a gentleman who was going to be running for the job. So he did run, he did win, and he's unable to, we have a situation where he's unable to, failure to elect because he ended up needing to move out of Wenham. So he
Oh.
couldn't serve. So now we have to go through the process again of filling that at a joint meeting with the Wenham Housing Authority, which will be held on September 8th at our first meeting in September. So what we're asking here is the board to give notice to the Wenham Housing Authority that we're going to have that joint meeting. And this position will be filled through the next 2021 annual town election.
So this is simply a notification to the Wenham Housing Authority.
Exactly, that the Board of Selectmen is convening a joint meeting with them on September 8th for the purpose of filling the vacancy through the next election.
All right, so I'll read the motion then. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 4111, to receive the notice of failure to elect by the town clerk, and further to give notice to said remaining members of the Wenham Housing Authority that the Board of Selectmen shall convene a joint meeting with the intent to fill said vacancy through the 2021 annual town election by joint appointment to be made on Tuesday, September 8th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. and further to invite qualified registered voters of the town of Wenham to apply for said appointment and to be interviewed at said joint meeting. Do I have a second?
I have a second question too. Maybe Gary already seconded. If you did, I'll third it. So do we have any applicants, Anthony, to this?
No, so what we'll do right now, Jack, is we'll advertise, we'll put a public notice in the newspaper, we'll advertise on our website, we'll speak with Paula at the Housing Authority and if they can recruit a candidate or anybody else, registered voter of Wenham that's interested, please send your letter of interest to the town administrator's office. And we'll, with accepting applications through September 1st. No, through that Wednesday before September 8th. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. But yeah, so we'll be advertising it, Jack.
As of right now, we don't have any applicants. Is that correct?
It's correct.
Okay. Oh, we have no motion. We don't have to.
Nope, you already took the motion to notify them. It was
All right,
seconded.
good.
Vote happened. So Catherine, the vote happened?
Yeah, good.
Okay, so that's
Okay, next.
John again.
All right, I don't have a motion here.
I'll get it up here, John, for you.
Yeah, if you've got it, please.
So just again, we have another vacancy in an elected board that requires the same type of procedure to happen. So we're basically taking the same type of motion, and change the name from Housing to Wenham Water Commission.
Yep.
And we do have somebody that has submitted a letter to, I believe that we have it. I know Eric told me that there is somebody that was interested, but obviously we will still advertise and have that meeting with the Water Commission on September 8th as well to fill the vacancy.
Okay, I'm ready to go for the motion. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 4111, to receive the notice of vacancy by the town clerk and further to give notice to said remaining members of the Wenham Water Commission that the Board of Selectmen shall convene a joint meeting with the intent to fill said vacancy through the 2021 annual town election by joint appointment to be made on Tuesday, September 8th, 2020 at 6:30 PM. And further, to invite qualified registered voters to the town of Wenham to apply for said appointment and to be interviewed at said joint meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions, concerns? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Gary, aye.
John, I.
Jack Wilhelm, I do have a comment, though. I'm hoping that the Ipswich River water flow rises so that the Water Commission can go back to a level 1 as opposed to a level 2 water restriction. I think a lot of people would like that. Although we've had a lot of rain in the last few days. Nevertheless, we're on the most clear one they can do, which is basically no sprinklers at all, as everyone knows. The signs are out everywhere, but no sprinklers between 5 p.m. and 9 a.m., which would be a level 1, which we're in the level 2. And that, hopefully that for all of us, the Ipswich River, I think it has to rise for 7 straight days in order for the water department to validate the fact that we can go back to so-called level 1, which is from May 1 through September 30th, where sprinklers are only allowed from, again, as I said a minute ago, 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning. Now they're not allowed at all. Okay, good. Other than a loose leaf pickup, the water ban is the most popular question I have in town.
Well, that's why we have you as semi-water commissioner himself.
Yeah. All right, next one, Anthony.
The next item, Jack, is discussion on, from potential approval of the date for a special town meeting in the fall. Hamilton discussed our next 2 agenda items, which was the special and the annual as well. And just to let you know that Hamilton has decided on November 14th, I believe it is, that Saturday, to hold their annual, their special town meeting. And one of the reasons that they selected that date is because of its election season with the presidential election, which tends to be very heavy, and the town clerk has early voting for the last week in October. So the election is November 3rd. Ballots can be accepted through November 6th. So that's why they pushed it out to the 14th to allow for the election to happen and all the dust to settle from all of that.
Anthony.
You said election, you mean?
I'm sorry. The
Yeah.
Town
special
meeting, right?
Yeah, special town meeting. I'm sorry.
Okay, you lost me there.
Yeah, but the presidential election is November 3rd.
Right, that's right.
Oh, I think that I have lots of concerns about this, and that we had a very successful, everyone knows, who attended anyway, our recent annual town meeting. And we truncated that meeting to only put critical financial issues on the agenda. So it would be a short meeting. It lasted, by my watch, 11 minutes. I mean, 1 hour and 21 minutes. Somebody can quibble about 4 or 5 minutes, but that was pretty short. And so we accomplished the truncated portion, and we pushed the rest off to a theoretical meeting in the fall. So now the question is, should we have that meeting instead of setting a date? So the pros are that there's other issues other than financial issues that we would ordinarily have adjudicated at our Springtown meeting, which happened in the summer this year. And some of these can be lengthy. A lot of Paul Weaver has been working for the last several years on zoning reorganization of our zoning bylaws. And there are other things like that. The downside is that if we can't have it indoors, we may not, based upon this COVID-19 virus, it's going to be expensive to have another outdoor meeting. It wouldn't be as expensive as we incurred in the meeting we had a couple of weeks ago, but still it would be expensive. We'd have to do the Pingree Field, a tent, I'm sure not as big, and we could perhaps for one meeting, reduce the quorum issues, but still, it's going to be expensive to have a meeting. So we don't have extra money lying around to spend several $1,000s on a meeting. So that if we really need to have the meeting, I think we should have it. But I think we need to debate at this meeting and a subsequent meeting what are the pros and cons of having a special town meeting. And I usually don't make the comment I'm about to make, but I would really welcome comments from people who are listening to this this Zoom meeting about what their proclivities are for having such a meeting. And that I think that in order to educate the town, I think we need to put on a draft agenda out to say this is what the draft agenda would be, because it's hard for people to comment. Yes, I think we should have a meeting. No, we shouldn't, without knowing exactly what we're going to be talking about, what's on the agenda. So I think that I would appreciate me and Nikki if you put a draft agenda out. Make sure it says draft, because we actually have the Board of Selectmen have an approved specific agenda for the meeting. This is what we plan on talking about now at that meeting. I don't think we would change anything. Something could be done, perhaps. And I think the subsequent Board of Selectmen meeting, perhaps the next meeting, no later than the meeting following that, because there are timelines we have to meet in order to actually schedule it. Certainly if we do it November 14th. So I'm really interested in public input. So is the agenda meaty enough to warrant spending a few $1,000s on that? And I don't know, and that I'm not sure, and that so we don't ordinarily ask for public input like this, but I'd be very appreciative if we get such input, more than just one or two people. But I suppose I can't comment on that unless we actually publish, and I want you to do that, Anthony, to put out there a proposed agenda for a yet unspecified fall town meeting for a special town meeting. So that, those are my comments. I'd like to hear from other selectmen. I'm going to switch it to Gary next and have him comment on what I just said.
Well, I was looking also at the calendar, and certainly with the federal elections on the 3rd of November, that you really want to stay away from that week and the week prior with absentee voting and so forth. So I see where Hamilton has selected the 14th. Working back from that, the 31st of October is pretty much out with the holiday. The 24th, the week before that, would be just coming into the election final season. And the 10th is the long holiday too. So you really have maybe the 17th of October, or probably preferably either 3 October or 14 November as the two dates to choose from. And I think that applies also because if we're going to be outside, we need to factor in the weather again too. So I'm thinking, 14 November may be kind of late if we're going to be impacted and have to be outside. So as Jack said, I'd like to get some public input as to whether they think it's really worth having the meeting, given the limited agenda. And then it seems to me you're going to have to look at either 3 or 17 October.
Thank you, Gary. John, do you have any comments?
Yes, I do. First of all, I agree with pretty much everything that both you two have said. And additionally, I would like, Anthony, if you could, please forward a copy of the agenda items as you have them currently, to refresh my memory as to what we were putting off. I think I remember most of them, but I just don't want to forget something. And the public input would be very important. And I think you're right, Gary, that you get into November. I mean, we've had snow in November before. So if we have a problem with indoor, we might have a bigger problem with outdoor.
Can I just add, just to remind the selectmen, and Gary, maybe this might be new for you, but we had a citizens petition that was supposed to be heard at the annual election. The petitioner agreed to not bring that up at the annual, providing that it was discussed at the special town meeting in the fall.
I think we're all aware of that, Anthony. We don't need to be, thank you for reminding us, I suppose, and that, but nevertheless, before we go ahead, just to adjudicate that, we still need to understand the cost of doing that. If we have to have it outside, and that I suppose that it's possible to have it inside, perhaps at the Bucher gymnasium. If we only expected 20, 30, or 40 people, we can do social distancing if people actually show up for that. But there's a lot of questions about that, and that I certainly agree with Gary that when you get to mid-November, November 14th, that the snow could be flying and it could be cold out there, and that before the town in our tight budget spends a lot of money to have another outdoor meeting, not on the scale we just had, but we need to think about that. And we also need to know a little more about the legalities of possibly postponing that, both from the applicant of the 20 citizens petition, as well as from the state as to whether or not we could postpone that till next spring. I don't know what the answer is, but you need to follow up on that, both with the person who organized the citizens petition, and that also the state, do we have any flexibility of moving that to the spring or not? I don't know the answer to that. I don't think you do either. And I don't know whether the person who organized the 20-person citizen petition would be amenable if he indeed is legally able to do that. So there's lots of questions about that. So if we're forced to have it, we're forced to have it. And that if not, I'd like to know what our options are. Anthony?
Okay. I'll find out. I'll have to run it through council, some of those questions.
Yeah, we need to know the answer in the not next week and the week after, but certainly, by mid to late August, we need to know so we can either set the meeting up or not.
I think it's up to you as far as, it's up to the selectmen as far as whether or not you want to have a special town meeting. I think that the big question comes into play is the citizen petition. So that's something that I think will end up driving your, the selectmen's decision on whether or not to have a special town meeting.
So perhaps by the next meeting, you can solve that one for us by talking to the person who organized the 20 citizens petition and talking to the state, and do we have any flexibility? Don't we? So if it's we don't have any flexibility, it's academic, we have to set a date. So then we can start talking about a date on the agenda, and that if not, then we can have a different discussion.
I have an additional question for Anthony. If you could provide a logistical quantity of people that could attend a meeting in the Bucher Gymnasium. And so far, I've not heard anybody say to use the cafeteria, which is right there with it. So I would look at both rooms to see what the capacity would be if we're going to continue to do this distancing issue.
Yeah, we started looking at that today, and there's some questions that we still need to answer on that. I think Jack's right. I think that if you ended up having a special town meeting, we'd probably may have to lower the quorum. I don't think you're going to get the turnout that you got at the annual. So that number, we'll have to kind of figure out setting it up the same way, what we can max fit using the gym and then the overflow as being the cafeteria.
Thank you.
I'll throw, we can talk about later, it might be academic, around 50 or so. Our current quorum requirements are 125. 50 or 60, like that. If indeed we're forced to have a meeting, I'd say forced, if we were required to have a meeting, I shouldn't say forced. So I think it would be helpful, Anthony, if you could research the things we just discussed tonight to see what our options are at our next meeting.
Will do.
Okay, what's next? Gary, excuse me, before you go on, Gary and John, you in agreement with that?
I am, yes, John.
Likewise, Gary, yes.
Thank you.
Good plan.
So the annual town meeting, thank you to Michelle Bailey to bring it to our attention that the first first Saturday in April is, that's the Easter holiday weekend. So there, and Hamilton is looking at this too and moving it. I think there's only really two options that would be available. Or there could be several options, I guess, but the two that Hamilton talked about is the following week, which I believe is, the calendar in front of me, the 8th. No, I'm sorry, the 10th. Oh, no.
Michelle is holding up her fingers. I think that's a signal.
Oh, is it the 3rd? April 3rd? April 8th.
Yes. I think she held up 8 fingers.
Yeah, I got the 8th in 2021 as being on a Thursday, so I don't, maybe I'm looking at a different calendar. Yeah, it's
She's
the
saying
10th.
10th, guys. She's
Yeah.
saying
She's
10.
changed her mind. She said all 5 fingers are up in both hands. I think it's.
So the options would be really April 10th, and then the next option would actually be really May 1st, because the 17th and the 24th, Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, that's school vacation. So I think that you would potentially lose some people from town meetings. So, and Hamilton is, they didn't decide on this. They kind of wanted to see what Wenham was planning on doing, but they agree that the two dates options that are available right now would be the 10th and May 1st. This is just helpful as going through the budget process and setting dates and so forth. So it doesn't have,
Wow, we're really getting ahead of ourselves here.
time flies when you're having fun.
We need to have this down by the fall anyway. Okay. What else, Anthony? Up. 5 fingers are up.
I think she has a question.
It would be very helpful to have this sooner versus later, because I'd like to remind the selectmen that the school committee has to vote on their budget 75 days prior to your having a town meeting. So, to wait we have to be already planning. So just with.
Okay, I get you. Thank you.
So.
Oh, I don't got you though. I don't understand. Okay, 75 days. How does that impact us in terms of setting the meeting?
Because we have to get ready 75 days in advance, which means we have to back up all of our planning.
Yeah.
So that we can hit that 75th day to have a budget. Yeah. If you don't make the decision on that date until the fall, we need to have already started our budget planning by then in order to meet that 75th day. So if you put this off too long, it's not.
I hear you. So do you have any I hear you. Do you have recommendations then?
Both of those days are the days that I emailed to you guys and said, like, to me, those seem like the options. I don't care. It may be better to do it May, because we know that like this state budget this year isn't even going to come out until maybe in October sometime. So next year's budget is like dicey already. So we may have more information in May than we have in April.
But right now, Michelle, if I'm hearing you correctly, you don't have a problem speaking for yourself with either one of the 2 dates that was just offered. Is that right?
Correct. And actually, quite frankly, if you want to do it later in May, go for it. I just like, I know traditionally we had a tradition in Wenham of having it on the first Saturday in May. So it's familiar to us.
Okay.
In April. First Saturday in April is the tradition. Michelle.
Oh, no, before you got here, it was the first Saturday in May.
Before his predecessor got there ×2 anyway.
Yeah. And I take
Anthony, what's next?
For that.
Anthony, what do you got?
The cable licensing agreement.
Yeah, that's on me. Is Bill Melville with us?
Yeah, I'm here, John. I'm here.
All right. Do you want, before I make any kind of a motion, would you like to explain what we're up dealing with here?
Okay. First, I'd like to introduce Bill Solomon. He would be the attorney that is representing Wenham.
Okay.
If you recall, about 3 or 4 years ago when we renewed the Comcast license. We
yeah.
had one attorney. His name is Bill August. Some of the policies have changed, so they've determined to have two attorneys, one representing each town.
Okay.
And so Bill Solomon's here, and you can see him on the screen. He would be the attorney that represents Wenham. This is not going to cost the town anything. That's the most important thing. But if you recall, this process is like a long process. About 36 months ago, or 30 months ago, Verizon sent a letter to the town saying that the cable license for Verizon is going to be expiring. And so the process is like multifaceted. The first process is basically we have to do the commencement, which already happened about 1.5 years ago. The second is the ascertainment, and that entails basically holding a public hearing. The public hearing we had for Comcast, I recall we had people waiting out in the hallway. We had so many people show up. And in that
Right.
yeah, and in that hearing, I present basically what the needs are for the cable access. And then you go into informal negotiations, and then you go back and forth with Verizon.
And we say that municipal is bureaucratic.
Yeah.
Right. Little humor there. Okay. So,
yeah, if you do recall, the way we did it last time for Comcast, I put together a long-term, up to 5-year capital and operating budget.
yes.
I met with you during a meeting, and we talked about what you guys would like to see in Wenham, and got feedback from you. And then we had the big public hearing, and then we met with Comcast and hashed it back and forth.
So where are we in this process here?
The first
vote
thing
to
is
approve this.
you need to hire Bill Solomon.
Okay, so that's what this piece
Yeah.
is all about.
Because technically, the cable
and then-
license is with basically the licensee is the towns.
Yeah. Okay, and then
So
you come back to us once he's taken care of his end of the legal stuff.
Yes, and on July 13th, Hamilton basically voted to approve to hire Bill August to be their attorney.
Okay, I
So
got you.
both bills, well, 3 bills,
Two bills.
we'll all be
Three
working
bills, yes,
together
Bill Neville.
to get this going.
Were you all born on the same day too?
No,
No offense.
so I don't know if Attorney Solomon would like to add because he's
Hello, I'll just be brief. It's good to be here. I've been in municipal law for over 30 years. There's town council for a town for over 30 years. I moved on from that because my wife's a town administrator in Western Mass and our family's here. And I've done over 125 cable licenses all across the state, including I've done Gloucester and Peabody and some smaller towns in the Merrimack area, and finishing many this year. And I love the area. I'm enthusiastic about helping towns build up their community television. As you know, in COVID times, the importance of community television in terms of helping you with meetings and getting the word out to people is more so than ever. They're truly essential. The town's the licensee. I work for you. I try to do it, and I have in a very cost-effective way. Verizon is a company that doesn't really see itself as a cable company and is looking to get out of the field and looking for flexibility. And what we try to do is protect your interest at the same time as being able to get a license. So I think the timing is good here. It's a changing field, but the license is up in 2021. Most of the work would be done this fall and hopefully winter. And I'm apart from global changes that we can't control, I'm confident that we'll be able to get the town of Wenham an excellent license that puts you in the best position possible to build on the program that Bill and others have done in Wenham and in Hamilton.
So Bill, hearing your comment a minute ago, are we in jeopardy of losing Verizon as a supplier?
Well, here's where they are. They tell Wall Street and they've told Wall Street that they'd like to be out of any fiber in terms of to the home in 4.5 years. I don't think they'll get there. They'd like to provide everyone service as an end user wirelessly, even though they'll have fiber and around the communities and state of the country. So
Cost cutting effort.
well, more like they just want to. It's more profitable for them. But they're not going to, in my judgment, they're not going to be able to get rid of a fiber-based world. But then they're thinking of the idea of video on the internet and streaming, and whether, in effect, they could cease to do cable and do video on the internet on a streaming basis. If that's the case, the law does not currently specifically provide for compensation to the town for its public way. It does for cable. You get a percentage of gross revenues from cable revenues, but not from internet revenues or for telephone revenues. So what they're looking for is some flexibility. At this point, most of their licenses are 5 years, and they even like some sort of out. We've been able to negotiate something which is going to, for every practical purpose, have a 5-year license that's there for the town. And in exchange for the shorter license, and in exchange for at least the theoretical ability for them to give you a 3-year notice, they pay compensation that helps balance the shorter term. Now, of course, the way cable works is a 3-year window, as Bill said. So if in 2 years, they're still proceeding ahead with cable, which I'm sure they will be, that they'll then come back to you and have to negotiate again for when their 5-year term is up. So what we're going to do is, it's hard in this world to require someone to provide a service if they don't want to do it. But we're going to make sure that the town's protected in terms of the financial support for PEG access, both the operational needs and the capital needs and the video return needs, and that the license doesn't allow any cable company, in this case Verizon, to game the future by what they write now. It'll give some flexibility, but it will not address, if in a post-cable world, if that were to come about, it does not give them rights that they don't otherwise have or will have at that point. We're going to make sure that this is the cable license for now, because that's what they're negotiating, and that'll protect the town if at one point in time there's a change of paradigm. I expect cable to go on longer than people imagine. The challenge now in COVID times, there's no sports, and so therefore cable is they have to battle for, like everyone does, for their business. But the Verizon and Comcast are successful businesses, and as a result, they help support community television in the town of Wenham, because they're using your public way to make for their business.
So Bill, tell me, if they were to bail on us, is there a second or another option to go to?
Well, there's Comcast, and one of the things that what we'll want to do, and we'll talk about, is the sort of notice that they'd have to give. So I fully believe that there's little to no likelihood, frankly, no likelihood that they would. But the way corporations work, as I see it, there are people who want that, so the people who work for them try to get some flexibility. But that's a great point, Ms. Clemenza, that what we want to do is, if there's a provision, for instance, that they can, after 2.5 years, give you a notice. We want to make sure that that notice is long enough, whether it's 6 months or 9 months, so that those folks who are Verizon subscribers can go over to Comcast, because Comcast couldn't wire everyone up in a week or in a month. If you, even though the
exactly my point. Look how
right.
long it took to get fiber optics in any community.
That's right. Well, the Comcast has that, but they have to, as you know, connect the homes.
That's
so
right.
That we want to make sure, it's a great point, and it was a key negotiating point in the last year that I've worked on and thought a lot about, is that transition period and what it means to making sure that you, as a board of selectmen, protect the public interest. Because to have a notice period that's too short, then people are wondering, how did that happen? I have to decide, or I can't get cable. I want cable, and if Verizon doesn't want to provide it, then Comcast will. Well, they need time to go there. And that's one of the things I have addressed, but in each community can be a little different. And we'll talk about that here with the administration and yourself as a board to make sure we reasonably protect the interests of Wenham residents.
All right, so you're saying that at 2.5 years, it could be extended further if we don't agree that that's sufficient time to.
Well, and say like an example that they couldn't exercise their option to get out for 2.5 years. And then they'd have to give a notice, whether it's 6 months or 9 months. But the key about that notice is it has to be enough time for people to transition to Comcast, so, or to something else. So that's a great point. And that was a large part of the discussions in the initial communities I've worked with as to what's needed to protect the residents so that the transition period allows for a smooth transition. People aren't running around as if, with a chicken without a head. So
that's where neglect and abuse comes in.
Yeah, so a great point, and we'll be discussing and then negotiating that within some certain parameters.
All right, I guess our trust is in your hands, sir.
Well, thank you. I care passionately to make sure a town gets a good license, and I'll work hard to make sure that we have a license that fully protects the town financially and legally. And if it doesn't, then the town can't grant a license to Verizon at this point, and we're in disagreement and need to keep on negotiating.
And you'll be around so that we can put you in the stocks out in front of town hall.
Absolutely. My kids would love it. You got to tell them I'll be there.
Oh yeah, the rotten eggs.
That's right.
So John, the short answer is life is a negotiation.
Yes, you got that one, Jack.
So now do we have a motion here?
Okay, yes, we do. Okay. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to sign the agreement with attorney William Solomon for legal services on the Verizon cable license renewal process.
Second.
Second that?
Second.
Any further questions?
No, I'd just like to say Ms. Solomon certainly comes with great reputation and resume and experience. So for right
Yes.
now, I'll go with yay.
Yes.
All those in favor? One,
Aye.
two. Aye, John.
Aye, Gary.
Aye. Unanimous. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
very
Mr.
much. I
Solomon.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Bill Melville.
Yeah, just 1 second.
Yeah.
I've never met Bill Solomon, but I heard rave reviews because I'm very close with the executive director of Peabody, and he's worked very close with Peabody, and he's like one of the top-notch attorneys for this cable licensing. So I'm very happy that we have him as an attorney.
Right.
Thank you. I look forward.
Thanks for the vote of confidence.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Yep.
Okay, Anthony, moving on.
Next up is discussion and potential approval of the Maya Benefits Trust Agreement. So what this is just to jog your memory, back, now it's months ago, we switched from Harvard Pilgrim to Maya, who carries Blue Cross Blue Shield. Maya has 135 communities, part of this health trust agreement that they have. And it basically just says that by having a large number, we're able to get no more than a 7 or 8% increase because they have the large volume. So this trust agreement basically says that we're part of it. Wenham was actually one of the original communities that were part of the Maya Health Agreement going way back ago, years ago. So long time ago. So the agreement stipulates that when it was adopted, 32B, Chapter 32, will pay our rightful insurance premiums with the trust, and we just would give them a 60-day notice if we decided to change health insurance in 2 years, because this agreement was for 2 years when we switched to health insurance, which again, it was 14.9% increase with Harvard Pilgrim. We brought it down to a 7% with Maya. And so our insurance carries for 2 years, and this just basically says that we're in, and we'll give them notice.
What's the motion, Anthony?
Oh, sorry, I thought I had it on the screen.
Gary.
Yeah, I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to sign the MIA Health Benefit Trust Agreement dated July 1st, 2020. Second.
I'll second your motion.
All in favor?
John, I.
Gary, aye.
Jack Wilhelm, aye.
Unanimous, Gary.
The last item on the agenda is, there was a request to put Pleasant Pond on here. I today sent out the draft minutes. Jackie forwarded them to me. Thank you, Jackie. And basically, like the pool, the Board of Health has taken the position that the pond cannot be opened safely, so therefore it's closed for the rest of this year. Jackie can speak more to it. Jackie, are you still with us? Oh, there you are.
Yes,
I
I'm here.
think that- Let me try. I think the question really was, it's closed, but there's no barriers to actually, and so I saw an email from you today.
Yes.
Basically saying that you've instructed the highway department, based on the information you've just summarized a second ago, to put up a barrier so cars can't go down there any further, and that it's clear that the beach, the Pleasant Pond is closed. Am I summarizing that correctly?
That's correctly. The porta potties will be brought to the outside, and there'll be a
Right.
snow fence that Bill's crew will be installing over the next couple of days to keep that place closed.
I think that's the right thing to do.
There's no motion required, just there was an update and any questions.
Good.
No.
I'm sorry. Hi, this is Veiko Popov. I'm from resident of 24 Adele Avenue in Wenham, Massachusetts. I think it's you're talking. I just joined the meeting, expecting that you would be talking about the Wenham Pleasant Pond. Is that correct? Is this the topic of the current conversation?
Correct.
Yeah, and I understand that the motions or the decision are to close the beach.
Board of Health took that position, yes.
Yes, and may I ask what's the justification for this? I mean, other than sort of fear of COVID, spread of COVID, and spread of the sort of continuation of pandemic.
I think that you just answered that question. Yes, that's the reason that they took that decision.
Right, but this was, I think the decision was based on some of the early data in March, right? And now in view of many of the beaches opening in Massachusetts and other states in the US, don't you think it's time to revisit that decision?
The Board of Health just discussed that last week. It was last Wednesday, I believe it was. Yeah.
Right, I was there at a meeting with Jackie Brassenman, and we spoke about a couple of sort of strategies for that. And I think that my request was, or my plea was considering the low occupancy rate and the sort of rate of use of that beach that's below any of the sort of averages suggested by the state, which is, even considering the reasonable distance of 6 or 12 feet apart for family and family groups. I think the decision was very unreasonable to close the beach on the basis of high occupancy and high risk for exposure. And then Dr. Young was supposed to get back to me, which I never heard from whom I never heard of. And I find this very, very sort of arbitrary decision and sort of decision based on fear and not on reasonable facts, and certainly not based on data, certainly not based on the recent data that we've seen in the past 2 months. So I would at least require some kind of explanation, because otherwise I think we should have a town-based initiative to discuss this issue and to bring it to the light of public.
Not a bad request.
John, can I just,
Yeah, absolutely.
before you start, John, may I?
Yeah, please.
Thank you. Okay, so I just do want to make one clarifying comment that while you did join us with a Board of Health meeting, we invited you to a follow-up Board of Health meeting, which we did have. And I know Captain DiNapoli is here as well tonight. Deputy Chief DiNapoli is here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I've never received any invitations. Can you tell me how you invited me? Via email or via text?
You were on the meeting when we discussed the next meeting date. You were still on the Zoom call. So let me just clarify. So the Board of Health did have a continued discussion with the public health nurse, the board, and our police department. And while our case numbers are not going up in the way that they were in March, we still are in the midst of the pandemic, and there are certain municipal services that are not occurring as they had been prior to the pandemic starting. And Captain DiNapoli can speak to the challenges with the overcrowding that we're already seeing. It's a very small beach, and we have to maintain the 12-foot physical distancing as required by the state and other standards. And for us operationally to do so at this time is not feasible. And every weekend, Deputy Chief DiNapoli can speak to this. Every weekend, we're seeing overcrowding issues. And that is something that we can't keep moving forward with operationally. So that's the challenge. Deputy Chief DiNapoli, do you want to talk about what's been happening down at the beach?
Yeah, thank you, Jackie. It's been a reoccurring issue since everything started and the weather started to get warmer. We didn't obviously see it rear its ugly head until things started to heat up quite a bit. And we've had enhanced patrols every weekend since things started on Saturdays and Sundays. And unfortunately, folks haven't been heeding the warning of the Board of Health and Mary Beth Ting relative to the social distancing and very difficult enforcement wise for our men and women to stay on top of that, short of physically, asking folks to leave, which we didn't want to get into, and we didn't want to have to do that and take that type of stance to start kicking folks off the beach. And the other options that came up relative to if you're a resident or not and things of that nature to go that route. It just based on the meetings and the cumulative effort and thought process of the Board of Health and the police and fire personnel and the folks at Town Hall. Also based on the staffing issues relative to the gatekeepers and the lifeguards and with the pool being closed over in Hamilton, it was just a variety of factors that we all made a joint decision that I think at this point is the safest way, because the hybrid model of partially closed just really isn't working. It was either have to be totally one way or totally the other. And at this point in time, before we even were able to get it up and running, we'd be looking at about a 2-week period, and then it would have to all be shut down again anyway, as Labor Day is the usual shutdown time.
So Mr. Napoli, what were the usual numbers for that beach, the occupancy rates that you've seen in the crowded conditions?
Well, I was down there personally myself, having worked a lot of the weekend shifts, easily saw on different occasions, 40 some odd people. I didn't do an exact head count, but there was a good number of people, and they were right on top of each other. And they weren't far enough away that would have made me comfortable, but I can't speak to that every day. And it obviously was contingent upon the weather and things of that nature.
Yeah, so it looks like we had an isolated service, because I've never seen 40 people, and I've been to that beach probably more than 10 times. So I think we're talking about an isolated incident that happened over the weekend, right? And certainly it's not a generalizable trend. Now we're making a decision basically out of a presumption that this would happen, this would continue, and this would grow, and we're taking an isolated incident and generalizing it to draw a conclusion and to make a very, very dramatic change that influences the quality of life of residents of Wenham in a substantial way, because there is no access to water in Wenham. Seeing that the pool is closed, and that now with the closure of the pond, there's essentially all the options for the beaches for the residents of Wenham are limited. And my question to you and to the rest of the board is, on what grounds, right? I mean, if this was something that was happening every day or majority of the days, I would understand this decision. But I think this is happening very rarely, as you said, on the weekends, on certain weekends, and we don't even know the exact head count, and we don't know the exact parameters of the beach.
Captain DiNapoli, John Clemenza here. We have no lifeguards or gatekeepers this year so far.
Correct.
Okay, so we don't have any civilian way of monitoring that situation. It's strictly response from your department to check it out occasionally or 2 times a shift or however you go about it.
Exactly. And because we had the enhanced patrols on Saturdays and Sundays, we were able to spend a little more time down there. But relative to midweek during the day or on our second shift, which is 3 to 11, it was just sporadic throughout the shift. And that was all contingent upon the type of calls for service we had. It could be a shift where if we're really busy, we couldn't get down there at all if we didn't have the extra patrols on. It's day by day.
Yeah, I get you. Too bad there wasn't a camera down there.
I mean, there has to be a way, a creative way to ensure some kind of check of occupancy rates and sort of and prevent overcrowding. I think in the 21st century, right? Whether it's a camera surveillance system, scanning of the decals or whatever it is. I mean, in all honesty, I refuse to accept that closing the beach is the only way in today's day and age. And if so it is, I would like to see a very solid arguments for that, and not just an arbitrary decision made out of fear and made out of some extrapolations that may not be true.
Well, this was a Board of Health decision. This was just an update to the Board of Selectmen, so I'm not sure.
No, I understand, but what I'm bringing up to the boards of selectmen is that decision may not have been grounded on the facts, and that is very, very bothersome. I'm a physician by trade, right? So I mean, I'm well aware of the public threats, and especially of the crisis. I mean, we're involved in dealing with pandemics on multiple levels, on a personal level, organizational level, systemic level, right? On daily basis. I'm very anxious when I see these motions that are made in fear and out of sort of I don't want to say paranoia, right? But without the real data, and especially when I see the decisions that are made without presentation of real data.
There is
whether it's a Board of Health or whoever it is, I would want to see real numbers, real occupancy rates, right? Based on which you make a final decision that affects substantially quality of life of Wenham residents. And I think with our finance rates, which were discussed at the town meeting not too long ago, I mean, we ought to come up with a creative decision, with a creative solution that does not require just plain blank statements about closing. Don't you agree?
There's another Board of Health meeting tomorrow at 3 o'clock. So if you want to jump on there and.
I would be happy to.
Okay. That was all that was on the agenda tonight, Jack.
Okay. Thank you for your input. Tough calls. The Governor Baker recently decided that anybody who leaves coming into Massachusetts needs to quarantine themselves for 14 days or a $500 fine. So I think that's kind of arbitrary as well. But
you got that one, Jack.
I move that we adjourn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Very
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you.